There has been absolute outrage in response to an advert by an adult toy company that references Prince Harry. On the other hand, you might think that the response to the advert that references Prince Harry is in itself outrageous. Because when I say there was outrage to this advert, which I will explain in due course in this video, I mean it was one person that complained. Much like the Land Rover advert video that I did some time back when two people complained and the advert was banned to say that that advert was misleading. But in true Streisand effect, as it was with the Land Rover advert, which I played in full, which I will link in the description below, it's not an advert, remember, but in true Streisand effect, I'm going to talk about this on this channel here because the Advertising Standards Authority, the ASA, which has the authority to ban adverts if that they are found to be offensive or misleading or inappropriate or something else that's essentially wrong with those adverts, had a complaint by a single complainant about this advert, which I will come on to later in this video. No pun intended, of course. But looking at this complaint here, I'll try to do the rest of the video without laughing, but let's look at this complaint here. The ad description: a digital billboard ad for Lovehoney, not a sponsored video, you understand, not in any way affiliated, and this is not an advert of any kind whatsoever, was seen on the 8th of February 2023. I will try to do the rest of the video without laughing. Clapham Junction Station. Featured an image of a ball gag and large text, love the irony, that says, "Silence is golden, Harry," with smaller text underneath stating that spare ball gags are available at lovehoney.co.uk. Now, the clear play on words here is reference to Harry's disclosures, let's call them, in his book Spare. And this is the advert. So you have to love the creative use of words, double entendre and irony within this advert. Now, let's talk about it on a more serious note. Why was there a complaint about this advert in the first place? So let's go back to the ASA's website and complaint and talk about this in some legal detail. Let's get some useful discussion going here. So the issue complained about by one complainant. I do wonder who that one complainant was, but anyway, let's take a look. The issue was that the advert was offensive and that the advert was inappropriate for display for an untargeted medium where children could see it. Some of you might think that's a fair argument. Some of you may think otherwise. As always on this channel, I'm going to offer you a balanced view in a little while. But first of all, let's talk about the actual response. The response to this complaint was from Lovehoney that they said they did not believe that the ad was offensive. Frankly, I agree with that. I don't think the advert was offensive. There's no real offense in there. It's humorous. It's a bit of a joke. It's a bit of a pun and witty advert, so I don't think it's offensive at all. The response goes on. The ad was launched in response to the release of Harry's memoir. They pointed to the fact the memoir contained a number of indiscreet revelations, some of which had a sexual reference. At the time the ad was published, Lovehoney issued a press release that explained their motivation for the ad and how it should be understood, which included that it was meant to be humorous and that not all family stories needed to be shared with the public. Like I said, double meanings, double entendres, irony, all of it. Frankly, I think it's a very clever advert. Second, they did not believe the ad was inappropriate. This is in response to the second complaint, obviously. They did not believe the ad was inappropriate for display in an untargeted medium where children could see it. This had no explicit sexual reference, and its way of use was not readily identifiable without further knowledge. Now, doubtless, many of you have no idea what this thing is. Indeed, as this response goes on, children would not recognize it as a sex toy, and there was nothing in the ad to change that. Neither the picture nor the text spoke to the children and therefore made it uninteresting to them. They would therefore ignore it, or at most wonder what it's about, yet without seeing any inappropriate hints. Lovehoney therefore believed that this was insufficient to exceed the threshold of inappropriateness. Now, frankly, I agree with that. And the other issue here is that I've seen various news stories, various types of parties that have been put on for children, largely in the United States, but it's not unheard of that it's happened in the United Kingdom as well, that certain displays are inappropriate for children and yet go on anyway. And they've had complaints about them, and essentially nothing really happens. I'm not going to link to those in the description below, but nonetheless, those things happen. And I think those are in bad taste, and I think those should be banned, and yet, alas, they're not. Moving back to the complaint, a final bit of this response here. 1 and 2 London Lights, the media owner, acknowledged the complaint, but did not provide a substantive response. And I don't see why they would. They're just hosting the advert. The assessment of this single complaint by the Advertising Standards Authority, number 1, that it was offensive, was not upheld. It says the ad featured a large image of a ball gag and text displayed that silences Golden Harry, and spare ball gags available at lovehoney.co.uk, not a sponsored video. We understood that it was placed in the mouth of a person to limit them from talking. The ASA considered that some people would find the image and references to this implication that it should be used to stop someone from speaking distasteful. However, we concluded the ad was unlikely to cause serious or widespread offence. On this point, we investigated the ad under the CAP Code Edition 12. Not that I fully know what that is, I haven't read it, but did not find it in breach. So some sense in my view there in that it's not offensive, because frankly I don't find that offensive. There's far simpler things that could be found offensive, and this just is not. Now the second complaint, however, the complaint that this was inappropriate for the untargeted medium, is where you may take a different view and you may agree with it. This complaint was upheld. It said the ad appeared on a digital billboard at a busy train station, which was at an untargeted medium. In other words, everybody can see it, of all ages, of all backgrounds, where it had potential to be seen by a large number of people, including children. As referenced above, the ad included etc., which we considered inappropriate for children to see. We consider that while younger children, and here's the bit where I might offer you an argument. If you agree with this being upheld, I might offer you an argument. Again, I just offer you the arguments. It's down to you what you think. If it's about the law, then I'll tell you what the law is and what the law means. When it's down to opinion, you're free to hold your own opinion. I'll just give you some tools and some way of interpreting something that you may come to your own view, which may or may not be different to this view. But I'll give you some view in a moment. It says here, we consider that while younger children were likely to be unaware of what this item was, older children might have greater awareness of what the object was intended for. We therefore considered the ad was inappropriate for outdoor display where it could be seen by children. Now, hold the phone, as the saying goes. What this says is, if an advert is outside somewhere that children who might have greater awareness of what something is intended for would be inappropriate if it's outdoor where they can see it. Now, if you were to apply that to practically anything that you think reasonably children shouldn't have, shouldn't own, shouldn't do, shouldn't buy, shouldn't use, whatever, that could apply to so many different things. It could apply to normal activities that everybody can do that might not be suitable for children, but that might have, as this put it, might have greater awareness. That could go for vaping. It could go for, well, a whole host of different things. Just for the clarity and avoidance of doubt, I haven't looked into advertising standards for vaping, for example. It's the first thing that comes to my head. And the reason is that I hear stories of children being excluded from schools, even expelled from schools, because, at least if the rumours are true, that they've been found to be vaping on a regular basis, and the school has said, we don't like this, get out. And they've kicked the children out of the school. But I see and I hear of children, I say children, teenagers and younger, vaping in public places. Clearly they've seen it, they've found it, and I don't approve of it for the avoidance of doubt. But there are adverts for these. I have seen adverts for these around, and if I've seen them and I'm not looking for them, then they are in a public medium where they are visible by children who, as this put it, might have a greater awareness of what the object is intended for. There are a whole host of different things that children might have a greater awareness of what they are for and see them in a public place. Is this upholding of this complaint really to suggest that anything that children might have a greater awareness of what it's used for to be banned in terms of adverts in a public place? Now, you might argue that the very special nature of this company and its products, that it's a category all of its own and that it should have its own rules. And obviously to a degree, I agree with that. But at the same time, there's got to be some room for companies like this to advertise its products. Just because not everyone's going to buy them, and certainly they're not aimed at children, and therefore they have to be carefully and particularly marketed so that they don't cause offence and upset to children and so on. But when we look at the advert itself, I would challenge a great many of you not knowing what this is and what it does. And if you do, that's fine. And if you don't, that's also fine. But as for this, I'm just not sure that this is the right conclusion. We concluded the ad had been irresponsibly targeted, on this point has breached the CAP code. I'm going to go ahead and read that code, perhaps to come back on another video and more. And the action to be taken is that this ad must not appear again in the form complained of by this single complainant, and ensure that their adverts are appropriately targeted. So like I said, this is not a sponsored video. I've not been asked to do this video. I haven't reached out to anybody for comment because this is not an editorially controlled channel. This is obviously within certain bounds of professionalism. I give you my views. I talk about decisions like this that affect everybody. They're grounding in law, and obviously the ASA have authority to ban this advert if they so choose. But your thoughts would be welcome in the comment section below. Do you agree on both counts? The first that was dismissed, the complaint that this was offensive, and the second that it was inappropriate for display in public, in other words. So in an untargeted medium where children could see it. So in public, bearing in mind that if this is a correct decision, bearing in mind, secondly, the specific nature of the products that this company sells, but bearing both of those things in mind, if the decision here is correct, then absolutely anything, any advert, anywhere that is in public that children might see that might have a greater awareness. Now, we haven't spoken about the children that don't have awareness of it. Obviously, if they've got no awareness of it, it makes no difference. It's a little bit like, for example, it's a little bit like watching, I don't know, The Simpsons or various other animated films that have certain jokes, certain humor that only adults will find funny for the reasons that adults will find them funny. And they go over the head of children because they just don't understand. But it's also, they are obviously weaved into certain programs so that adults watching it with children get a little bit of a giggle out of it as well, because otherwise it might be a little bit boring. So The Simpsons and various other animated films have got those sort of references in there. And yet some children, as this assessment put it, some children might have a greater awareness. Is that to say that all of those things should be banned? I don't think so. Let me know in the comments what you think. But if that is the case, should every single advert that advertises any specific product that may not be appropriate for children to see, that may have a greater awareness of it, should they also be banned? Let me know what you think in the comments. I thought this was interesting with a number of issues involved, but not least of which the fact that there was a single complainant, one person complaining, can result in this advert being taken down. Just like the Land Rover advert that which I'll link in the description below, but it's not an advert, but the advert was banned. My video wasn't an advert. I've played the video for you so you can see what it is, but it's not an advert. Linked in the description below. 2 people complained about that one. So 1 or 2 people, it only takes 1, as the saying goes, in this case, to get an advert banned. So there it is. As I said, this video is not sponsored. I was not given any free products or anything to make this video. It's not affiliated anyway. But let me know what you think in the comments. I thought this was interesting. I thought it was comical. For what it's worth, Lovehoney, if you're watching, for what it's worth, I thought it was humorous. I thought it was clever, witty. I didn't have a problem with it, and I don't think it's inappropriate. I mean, obviously the ASA did. I respect their view. They are the authority. They have the overriding view. But obviously, everybody can have a different view. Everyone can have a different opinion. Let's see how many people we get view this. I might even create a poll if I have done that, and you're still with me. If I've done that by the time I've released this video, I'll link the poll in the description below. You can go vote on that as well. Let me know what you think. I'll be interested in the comments to this one. And in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching.